Well, okay, so since it's fall, I thought I would pick out a fall koan and we could look into that. So I picked out case 27 out of the Blue Cliff record, Yunmen's Golden Breeze. The case goes, a monk asked Yunmen, how is it when the tree withers and the leaf falls? Yunmen said, body exposed in the golden breeze. So first of all, who's Yunmen? He's in most of our texts, he's referred to as Unman. That's the Japanese. Yunmen's the Chinese. He was a Tang Dynasty Zen master, very prolific Zen master, had over 60 Dharma heirs. He appears in the koans of the Blue Cliff record 7 different times. And all of his, at least all the ones that I can remember off the top of my head, are kind of like that, very concrete and vivid. So Yunmen died about a little over 1,000 years ago. And when I was looking at this, I started thinking about that. And I thought, you know, it's really incredible. It just made me wonder. I thought, you know, what's relevant about Zen or about our practice now that would be relevant to those people back then, you know? I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could go back and sit with those monks in Yunmen's time? I don't know if I could really do that. I might be scared to do that, actually. It seems like, in my imagination anyway, monks in that time period were very fierce and, you know, just like one channel determined Zen icebreakers or something, you know, like they're made out of hammered black iron. I don't know if that's really true or not, but it kind of that's how I imagine it had to be back then. But, you know, with my own practice, Zen seems very relevant to my life, and it seems very modern, really, you know. And the things that come up for me in my practice quite often are, you know, emotional issues or blockages or psychological things that I haven't really dealt with. And I think for monks way back then, those kind of things would have been probably luxuries, you know, that they didn't really spend much time with, or at least not as maybe gave so much importance to, because, you know, life was hard, you know. I mean, if the crops failed, whole villages sometimes starved to death. I mean, it was a tough life. So I wonder, you know, what has kept this practice like vital and alive for well over 1,000 years? That, you know, what did Zen reveal to them that it's still revealing to us today? So anyway, Yunmen, you know, how is it when the tree withers and the leaf falls? And Yunmen said, body exposed in the golden breeze. So, you know, when I first look at this koan, the first thing that comes to mind is, like, you could look at it like this. A long time ago, a guy said to another guy, he said, what happens when the leaves fall? And the other guy said, well, then the tree's bare. And we've been working on this for like 1,000 years now. We still haven't got it. You know, that's amazing. So life's kind of a miracle. But, you know, I like fall, you know. It's a koan about fall. It makes me think of like going into an aspen stand and walking through aspen trees in the fall, you know, with their white trunks. And I think that we've probably all been there and have those yellow leaves just raining down, like, you know, like a river of minnows or something coming out of the sky, you know. And then in the fall, you know, there's that like perfume of the fall, you know, where the leaves hit the ground and they kind of almost ferment, and they make this really kind of delicate, like sweet, sour perfume, you know. It's really, I love that smell. And you smell it in the fall for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and then, you know, snow comes and it's gone. You can't, you know, winter's kind of scentless. And then in the spring, when the snow melts, it comes back again for like a week. You know, there's a little bit left over. You know, I always kind of like that too. Fall, you would think fall would be like a kind of a quieting down time, you know, going into the sleep of winter, like, you know, like just kind of drowsy, but it's really not. Fall's actually like a super active, energetic time of year. I mean, everything is changing. The weather is changing. Usually here, it's very breezy in the fall. And then you get, summer days and winter days back to back, back and forth. Everything's just changing. The leaves are turning color. The animals all really know it. The squirrels and the chipmunks and animals that gather stuff to make it through the winter, they're piling up pine cones and juniper berries, and they're very busy. Other animals, are getting ready to hibernate. They're looking for dens, and they're eating anything they can to put on fat to make it through the winter, and then the birds are like circling around and gathering up in flocks and calling back and forth, getting ready to migrate. And then the birds that don't migrate, like in my house, I have bird feeders. In the summer, it'll be well over 2 weeks for them to empty out that bird feeder. This time of year, it's almost every day. They're trying to put on fat to survive. They're very busy. And then the deer, the elk, stuff like that are going. The rutting season's coming up, or well, for the elk, it's already done. But they're very active. Everything is kind of active, and the trees are active too. They're going through a lot of changes in the fall. We tend to think of trees as being kind of inactive beings, almost kind of like passive or something. I know a lot of people that are really almost blind to trees, like trees are just furniture. They just walk by them. They don't really notice them much, But trees, they're not like us. They don't get up and walk around and stuff, as far as I know. But they are very active in their own way, I got on Google and I looked this up. It said the average mature deciduous tree, like say an 80-foot tall red maple, produces about 200,000 leaves in a season, in a growing season. Now, if you figure a pine tree's got, 10 times as many needles as a maple tree does leaves. So a pine tree would probably produce well over 1 million new needles every year. That's a lot. And all those needles and leaves are like, they're like little mom and pop factories or businesses working for the economic life of that tree. They're contributing to the GDP of that tree 24 hours a day during the growing season. They're little factories that take the energy of sunlight and use chlorophyll to break down carbon dioxide and make sugar for the tree. And the tree needs that sugar to survive. In fact, everything on the planet needs that sugar to survive. Plants are the only thing, well, almost the only thing that can really convert energy into food that we can use. So those leaves are busy like 24 hours a day, because the whole cycle to make sugar it's a 24-hour cycle. There's a respiration cycle and a photosynthesis cycle. You can the trees actually kind of swell up like they're breathing, and then they contract during this cycle once a day. And you can actually measure the growth of a timber stand by using a tool called a dendrometer. You put around, it's a metal band that fits around the tree, and it's got a calibrating device on it. It'll measure how much the tree swells up and contracts every day. And you can kind of calculate, if the stand is growing at a rapid rate or whatever. But anyway, so all through the growing season, the tree is like super busy making sugar and, turning that into resin and wood fiber and cellulose and the other things that it needs to survive, and storing some of it. And then when fall comes, the reduced hours of daylight and the cold temperatures just make the whole process get more and more and more inefficient. So the leaf can't really put much sugar back into the tree, and plants have a lot of feedback loops. So if a certain part of the plant isn't feeding the tree, the leaf isn't feeding the tree just kind of cuts off the sap going back into the leaf. And so as that goes on, then eventually the chlorophyll degrades and the tree absorbs the chlorophyll back in it. And then when the chlorophyll's gone, you see all these brilliant, bright colors that have been there all along, all summer long. That bright yellow of aspen leaves is in there, that red of the maple, but it's covered up. You can't really see it because the green chlorophyll just kind of covers over everything. But once that chlorophyll is taken out of the leaf, you can see those brilliant fall colors. And so the tree, after that happens, everything just kind of desiccates. The leaf connection to the tree kind of dries up, and then that golden breeze comes along, and the leaves are free and they float to the ground. And I kind of, when I was doing this, I thought, well, that's a lot like zazen. The tree is letting go of its activities, just bit by bit by bit, just dropping everything it did all summer, all its concerns for making food, all that, it just lets go of it. And if you look at zazen that way, it actually makes it seem like really a very lighthearted practice, just kind of letting go of stuff. Just stop pushing sap into those concerns of yours, and let go of those opinions and agendas and all the other stuff that we carry around with us all day long that kind of mask everything. They are our life, but at certain times we can just drop them and let go of them. And it's, like it's easy like the tree, you can just stop putting sap into them, stop putting energy into them, and just let them fall away for a time. You don't have to use a blowtorch or a hedge trimmers or a chainsaw. You can just kind of let them drop off, and they will. So when all the leaves are gone, when the tree has dropped all its leaves, then it's in a state of kind of like tree samadhi, right? The whole forest is in tree samadhi. That's when the body is exposed. Trees go into a period called dormancy, where they really kind of shut down. They don't totally shut down. They're still physiologically active, but kind of at a very low level compared to during the summer. They kind of withdraw everything from their leaves. It all kind of pulls into their trunks, all the sap and everything. And they actually change their sap so that it's, they put create some kind of a glycol-like substance so that it won't freeze in the winter and the cell walls won't burst. So like for our work, we drill trees to sample the ages. In the winter, the sap that comes out is like candle wax. It's white and really, really thick. It doesn't really run or anything, but it still oozes out of the tree. So anyway, if the wind letting the leaves go free is like zazen for the tree, then in the wintertime, the trees are like in samadhi. It's a dormancy. And they have to go into that dormancy to survive. They have to, or they'll die. You can even take like pine trees from around here and put them in a heated greenhouse with all the light, sun, water, everything they need, fertilizer. After 3 or 4 years, they'll die if they don't. They need that dormant period every single year. They need that rest, that time of just stopping. And actually, trees around here are in that period most of their lives. We tend to think of trees as growing things, but they actually spend most of their life in a dormant period. And the growth part of it's only about 4, maybe 5 months. So when the tree's in that dormant period, that's when the body's exposed. It's like the tree is revealed, and you can really see the real form of that tree, the real structure. It's not obscured by all its activity, its summer activity. You can see the branch structure, if there's a rotten branch or there's dead branches or it's particularly beautiful or whatever, you can see it. The tree's kind of revealed to us. There's a Japanese art called bonsai. I'm sure everyone knows what that is, where they take trees and they put them in little pots and they prune them up to keep them dwarfed and small. And with deciduous trees, they value those trees in the spring for their little leaves, in the summer for the foliage, in the fall for the fall colors. But the most beautiful time for those deciduous trees is considered to be winter, when they're bare, they have no leaves, and you can actually see the tree. You can see the real structure of the tree and the beauty of it. And they have shows for those trees in the winter with no leaves, just bare. They even in the U.S. there's one at the North Carolina Arboretum. It's called the Winter Silhouette Show, where they just have deciduous like maple trees and elms and stuff with no leaves, just so you can appreciate the little fine twigging and everything that's on them. So anyway, a monk asked Yunmen, what happens when the tree withers, the leaf falls? You kind of have to wonder, if a monk asked this, why was he asking this? I mean, he's a monk, right? I mean, he would have been presumably living in a monastery, and he would well understand this, So, perhaps he was a novice monk. We don't really know. And he just was wondering, like, you guys are all sitting there and staring at a wall. That doesn't look too exciting to me. Why should I do that? You think that's what he was asking? Or maybe he was saying, okay, I sat there, I looked at that wall and everything, I dropped away all my thoughts. And he's maybe bored and he's going like, is that it? Like, that's it? We just sit and look at walls all day? So is there any more? I think he was asking that, or was he asking his teacher, like, Was he looking for his teacher's approval? Like, I did this, I sat, I dropped everything and became totally still. Was he looking for his teacher's recognition of that? Or was he like being arrogant and saying, I'm enlightened, I sat, I did it. Do you recognize that? Or, maybe I'm reading way too much into this. I mean, it could have just been a gardening question, like, he's trying to give the guy a hint, like the leaves have all fallen. Maybe I should rake the temple grounds. That could be it. I remember when we used to do Samu back at I remember it mostly when at Lafayette for some reason, although we do it at the Zen Center now too, but where it seemed like 80% of Samu was leaf raking, and you would rake and rake and rake and try and get every last leaf. I used to pretend that the leaves were like my stray thoughts, and I'd try and like clean my mind, get all those leaves out of the grass. You could get almost all of them and you'd think, oh, whew, got that yard done. Next day you go back and it's totally covered with leaves again, because the other 75,000 of them fell during the night. And then you look up and there's, still 150,000 up there. And it's like, it's just like, seemed like it was never ending. We'd fill up these bags with leaves. But Yunmen said, body exposed in the golden breeze. That's a great answer, because it, well, for one, it's undeniably true, and he doesn't go anywhere with it. He doesn't say like, if the leaf withers and the tree falls, you go to the highest transcendental heaven or something like that. He just says body exposed. When I, years ago, I used to get all these solicitations in the mail, and I got the same one like, 5 times a year probably. And I'd open it up and read it, and it'd always say, do you feel like other people don't understand you? Do you feel like there's something missing in your life? Do you feel like you see more than others? And they had all these questions, and you got down to the bottom of it, and it said, you might be a beyonder. And a beyonder was supposed to be someone that like could see the shallowness and triviality and illusory nature of everyday life and saw something deeper, something more important behind it, or something more real, And then the hook was they asked you for money, and you could join the Beyonder Club, and you got like a membership card and, maybe a t-shirt. I don't know, I never joined, but I used to laugh at that. But I always kind of wanted one of those cards. I thought, I could like take it to a bar or something and show girls like, hey, look, I'm a beyonder, and they'd say, you have no economic future whatsoever. We can tell, But the thing is, I think back then I really was a beyonder. I wanted some kind of salvation from beyond this world, something really cosmic. I think I was looking for, something magical almost, But Yunmen just said, body exposed in the golden breeze. Whose body was he talking about? Was it, how big is it? How tall is it? I mean, is it the same body you brush your teeth with and go to the bathroom with? Is it a tree? Is it a tree body or a human body? Is it some mystical body you have, but you don't really know about? Is it a body that has mountains and rivers and oil stains on it? What body does he mean? Body exposed in the golden breeze. What body? I remember I used to listen to these Dharma talks on CD. It was Daido Roshi, and he had such a great way of talking and delivering things. And I don't know if he said this more than once, but it always really stuck in my mind. One time he said, there's no place to put this enormous body, and I that always stuck with me. But is that the same body? I mean, what does he mean there's no place to put it? I put mine right on this cushion right here. Here it is. Is that the body he's talking about? What did Yunmen mean when he said that? I mean, why did he say that to that monk? Did he say, when he said body exposed, did he mean like your butt's sticking out? Pull up your pants. Or did he mean, I recognize your practice? Or did he mean, no, you're exposed, you fraud? Or did he mean that we should be as dead and still as a tree in winter? Is that the goal of our practice? Or, Maybe it was just another leaf raking thing, and he's going, yep, yep, you should get out there and rake those leaves because they're piling up. What do you think? I mean, if you were a Yunmen and you said that, what would you mean? Over the years, you know, with various koans and just various things, Shishin Roshi has said to me like many times, how will you take care of it? How will you take care of it? You know, how do you take care of this body, this life? And the climate's changing and we're doing it, you know. How do we take care of that? Insect populations supposedly are down like 50 to 70% in the last 50 years. I mean, how do we take care of that, you know? If you create 100 million acres of solar panels to power the country, it's not going to be exactly environmentally free. How do we take care of that? You know, there's political division, there's economic inequality, racial inequality, sexual inequality, wars underneath the surface all over the world. How do we take care of that? You know, how do we take care of making breakfast even? Do we take care of it? Sometimes I feel like God gave us paradise and we're ruining it because we were looking for something else. Like we didn't see it, you know. I know at the last retreat we did, Shinko Roshi said, she said, you have to love all of it. Don't fragment it. Like it's just one body. Sure doesn't look like one body though, does it? I know something that always sticks with me is like Dogen said. He said, nirvana is living and dying. Same thing, you know. He didn't say nirvana is the highest transcendental heaven. He said nirvana is living and dying. That's the body? Nirvana the body? Is nirvana your body? So back to the top. What's revealed by this practice that was relevant 1,000 years ago, still relevant today? So it's fall, leaves are falling, and let's just enjoy that. Thank you.